All right. So this week we did things a little different. Me and Serena have already, done the interview. Serena had not met our guest. And then we recorded. It was really longer than we normally do, but I thought that we needed to do this. But Serena would like to talk for a second.
Yes. Today's episode, we'd like to give the content notice that there are some triggers with veteran suicide and just suicide alone and talking about PTSD. So heads up to our listeners today in advance. That's some content we'll be talking about.
Right. So listen to the whole segment, get the message. And then if you need help, there's places to help. So, All right. So me and Serena have been doing this podcast now. We've had 9 out and we had our first celebrity guest way early in the podcast. So now, Serena, we have a musical guest, which will be our first one. Shannon Book, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Mike and Serena.
I saw you had a post, oddly enough, on LinkedIn, and I listened, and right away I was impressed. And my buddy Dave, he would love your music, so I sent him a link. Then I listened to the other music, and I'm like, let me reach out to this guy. And we've been talking. Now, where are you from, Shannon?
I am originally from London, Kentucky, Mike.
London, Kentucky. Serena, what do you know about Kentucky?
They have bourbon. They have horses.
Bourbon and horses.
That is the cash crop of Kentucky.
Bourbon. I actually had someone, they were telling me a story about, they had a friend that went through Kentucky and they're like, I saw no bluegrass. It was all green. And I thought they were kidding, man. Hey, this world is full of people like that, Shannon.
There's some people, they call Marines like crayon eaters, but there's some people that just like to lick windows and probably should take it.
Hey, this is the first podcast for us where we're going to play some music. But before we get there, I want to hear about your story because you're not just a guest on the show, just like everyone else we bring on, help veterans, our cause. You're actually a veteran. I want to hear your story, man.
Yeah, me too.
Right on. I don't know, 1991. Let's start there.
That's a long time ago, buddy.
Yeah. So 1991, I was sitting in the floor of my trailer watching the Gulf War unfold on TV. And I was sophomore in high school, maybe just sophomore or junior. At that moment, I was just like, that's what I want to do. Like, I wanted to support and defend my country. Mm-hmm. And, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. So, it was probably the best way for me to get out of nowhere.
Brother, I understand. I grew up in West Virginia. Same way.
Wrong turn. Sorry.
Hey. Don't be messing with West Virginia. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Tell your story.
But anyway. And you're right. So it was the best way for me to get an education, get out of, and I grew up in a 64-foot single wide trailer on as what we call holler. And we were watching this on our RCA box TV. I happen to be the remote control for, so we're watching the Gulf War and we're watching all this stuff happen. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, that's what I need to do. So long story short, my senior year, I graduated in 1994 and I was off.
And you were a corpsman.
I was a corpsman. I wanted to be a Marine. I was going to be a Marine.
Right.
And I walked in and I did the pre-screening ASVAB. I did the pre-screening PFT and I did really well. And I walked back and the gunny was doing all the monitor work and he, we're talking about a gunnery sergeant that takes this little can of snuff and puts a big lipper in him, spits in his coffee cup. And then so he's like, what do you want to be, boy? And I'm like, I want to be a doctor. He's like, you sure you don't want to be a sniper or cop or some killer? I'm like, no, I want to be a doctor. So he goes, come on, boy. And he walks me across the hallway to this freaking boiler tech. And he goes, hey, Boats. He goes, this cat right here wants to be a Fleet Marine Force corpsman. Make it happen.
Oh, that's an awesome story, man.
Were you ever at clinics and saw family members, I would assume?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first duty station was the Balboa, Naval Medical Center Balboa.
Okay. So I went in our final physicals, whatever, before my husband retired. And this corpsman is sitting with me in the room and he's asking me all these questions about myself and whatever. And like height, weight, all that stuff, temperature, blood pressure, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, what is your form of birth control? And I said, now, okay, wait a minute. So when you go to a woman doctor, like a gynecologist or an obstetrician, they will say, what form of birth control do you use?
Right.
And so I said to the corpsman, I said, oh, a vasectomy, because my husband had a vasectomy a long time ago.
It's something really ridiculous like a tube sock.
Right. Wait a minute. He looks me dead in the eyeball and he said, you had a vasectomy?
Oh my God.
I don't even know what to say to that right now.
I don't either. Hey, that corpsman had the new training and not the old training.
And I said, no. I said, my husband had a vasectomy. And he was like, oh, okay. But do you take any birth control? And I'm like, no.
I only sleep with my husband, dumbass. Maybe I was the stupid one there. Like maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. But like,
nope. That again, I'm just gonna tell you, if you ever do that again, just say my form of birth control is a tube sock.
Yeah, just say tube sock.
Because he would probably look at you about the same way and be like,
yeah.
I mean, it was like so awkward after that because I was like, what in the hell just happened? Because
hey, that guy will not make it to Fleet. He's not going to take care of it.
Listen, this guy's lucky to be counting Band-Aids somewhere right now.
All right.
Dude, like, yeah, we're not even going to give you sharp objects because you're dangerous.
A lot of listeners that aren't Navy don't know that corpsmen, Navy corpsmen take care of our Marines.
Yeah.
Take care of a lot of people.
You know what we call corpsmen for the Marine Corps? We call them adult supervision.
It's facts.
So where did the military path take you?
I went straight to RTC San Diego, probably one of the last divisions to graduate from there. And from there, I went straight to Balboa. I was going to go to Buds, and I may or may not have gotten into a little trouble with alcohol, and that didn't work out. And my first ex-wife was like, once I actually got squared away enough to go, she's like, you're not doing that. I'm like, but no, you're not doing it. Okay, cool. I was whipped. It was bad. It's horrible.
That's why she's your ex-wife, but go ahead.
I was just about to say that.
So instead of being a Navy SEAL, I became a Navy corpsman for the Marines, and she didn't like that either.
Yeah.
So I was at Balboa for probably about a year and a half as a E1 to E2. As soon as I made E3, I went to Field Med and went straight to 29 Palms.
Oh, 29 Palms.
I've never been, but I heard it's delightful.
It's like the armpit, Serena. If you think of your body, it's right there.
Listen, there's a beautiful lake in the front of it. It's called Lake Bandini. It's actually the sewage processing puddle. Yeah.
Ugh.
That's Lake Bandini. They call it Lake Bandini.
Oh
I don't ever want to go there.
You literally run by it every morning.
Oh, that'll put some pep in your step.
Put something somewhere.
Well, I know you had a band before. What I want to do is talk a little bit about that and what led you. The first song I want to play, if that's okay with you, is Not Alone, because that's what got you on the show. I got to be honest, like me and Serena, deal with a lot of military folks, of course, but that song hit home to me. And I want to know how we got to that song.
I'll tell you. And that song's meant to hit home. And people are like, well, you wrote that song? And I'm like, no, I think that song wrote me.
Yeah. I
was in a band called Vetted, and we were all combat wounded guys, and we were touring the country, and we would play music at, warrior transition units and wounded warrior facilities all across the country.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you.
Thank you. He does every day. Thanks. But we got done off of this tour, and we may or may not have decided to get a little shit canned, and we had a good time. And I may or may not have drank plenty of bourbon. I'm pretty sure at some point there were some Jägermeister shots. I don't even know.
Was it cold? Because Jägermeister cold's better.
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. But I know that the next morning, so I ended up sleeping at the studio. I crashed out on the couch and I just passed out there, and I was like, all right, whatever. About 4:00 in the morning, it's completely dark. Like, it's so, like, there's no ambient light in this place at all. It's just a big tin building. And about 4:00 in the morning, these words started rolling through my head. And I couldn't get them to stop. They wouldn't stop. Like, I'm just like, no. I'm hungover. Leave me alone.
Get away, words.
So I grabbed my phone and I'm like, all right, well, I'm just I'll type them in my phone and maybe it'll leave me alone. And I was like, no, that's not working. So I put my phone down and I walk over and I turn on the studio power and all the lights on the stage and stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. Then I grab a notepad and I start writing words down. And I'm like, okay, cool. No, I need my guitar. So then I grabbed my guitar, and this song was born probably in less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
I love stories like that, man.
Me too.
And the reality is that we had been on the road advocating against suicide and talking about our post-traumatic stress disorder stories and all this thing, our combat stories and things like that. And I think that I was so busy trying to help everybody else that I forgot about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to write about my own stuff. And that was what was coming through. That was what was happening. I'm pretty sure that was God writing my story.
Mm.
I don't feel like I wrote that song. I feel like God told me to write that song.
So it was like your therapy writing it while you're helping everybody else.
It was definitely me telling a story that I needed to speak about.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of veterans feel the exact same way you do because, shortly after you enter the military, you're in charge of people. I mean, E2,
correct.
Right? E3. You kind of forget about taking care of yourself. And so we're going to play the song. But before I do, me and Serena both listened to it. And I think we kind of have the same feel about the song. Serena, what was your take?
Well, I was driving down the road listening to it. And it's like one of those songs where like when I started listening to it, then I was like, okay, so then I was like turning down my air, because then I was like listening to the song. And it's like one of those things where you go from point A to point B and you don't remember getting there because you're listening to it. So it like had me like choked, like a lump in my throat. But I do have to say I was happy at the end to hear a happy ending to the story,
Right. And that's what I want to say. If people are listening, listen to the whole song, especially if you're having feelings of suicide, because some of our listeners, whether we like to admit it or not, are thinking about it because they're veterans, most of them. Mm-hmm. And, they're not alone, right? Which is what your song's about. So listen to the whole song, and then we're going to come back and talk to Shannon again.
He sits on his bed with his gun in his hand. He thinks his life is over, he can't understand. A bottle of whiskey and some pills in the drawer. He doesn't want to hurt himself or hurt anymore. Why must it be this way? Just think it all over and listen to the words I say. You are not alone. There are so many people who fight with their demons each day. 'Cause you are not alone. So take my hand, brother, let's beat this together today. You're not alone. She picks up the clothes that fall loose on the floor. She finds a crumpled letter just behind the door. Begins to read it with tears in her eyes. A horrible feeling takes over inside. Says, honey, can I talk to you? There has to be something that we can do. You are not alone. There are so many people who fight with their demons each day. 'Cause you are not alone. 'cause now he understands.
All right, Serena. So, the song's really, and Shannon, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's, you are never alone. I mean, people should not struggle with this alone.
So as you listen to the song, you can hear that there are three different people talking to this person, right? So it starts off and it's his buddy who walks in and he's like, "Hey, bro, I'm gonna need you to put that stuff down. We need to go do something and get out of the house. Get it, you're not here by yourself. You're not gonna sit here and stew in it. You're not alone."
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is his loving wife who's just doing laundry and finds a letter he wrote in a recliner somewhere in the living room or at the TV at the table or whatever. And she's like, "Wow, like I didn't know, but we got to talk about this." And she walks up, she talks to him, and she's like, "Hey, listen, like I'm right here. Like you don't do this by yourself. I'm your partner."
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me who you think the last person is?
I thought a child.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
The last person is God.
Ooh.
And you hear the angels, the kind of angel stuff, like the organ starts to pick up and it's almost like angels singing and you hear all the harmonies in the background.
Yeah.
That's Jesus talking.
Oh man. Chills. Serena, chills.
That's what that is. That's exactly what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's Jesus talking to you, and it goes from there are so many people who fight with their demons each day to there are millions of people who fight each day. So it's now you're looking at it on the grand scale that Jesus Christ takes time from those millions of people to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a great message. There's so many programs out there and we're going to post a bunch of stuff with links. I mean, if someone's hurting, I want them to reach out. And it doesn't even have to be one of those fancy websites or a 1-800 number. Shannon, think of how many people you served with who would pick up the phone tomorrow if you called them, if you're hurting, right? All of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? That's the struggle, right? It's that, hey, you know what, man, I'm not feeling today. I gotta, hey man, hey, what are you doing? I need to talk. Because the problem is, and this was, listen, I want to be completely transparent with you. There are a lot of times that I should not be sitting here talking to you, probably 3 of which were on my own hand. So, we were talking about bourbon earlier. I love bourbon, man. I will drink. I am really good. I'm a Marine sailor. Like I'm a jarhead sailor. So, like I'm really good at drinking, but I'm not really good at drinking anymore.
Right.
So I may or may not have one of those times I literally was driving my car drunk off my tail.
Right.
And I ended up driving my car nose to nose into a guardrail. I woke up.
Thank God it was a guardrail, my friend.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was my defining. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can't. And it's not like I'm stuck on, like I'm like physically addicted to alcohol. It was just really good for me to use as a tool to
numb the pain.
Garbage in my head.
Yeah.
Me and you talked earlier and I said, we do a drink of the week. Will that bother you? And I love what you said. You said, no, man, that's you. That's not me. I'm not good at it. And that's me.
Man.
You don't push your stuff on anyone.
I'll talk about your drink of the week all day because I've probably had it.
Right. See, I mean, I think people need to be more open about the struggles, right? They go through. And if alcohol is one of those struggles and you're not good at it, just don't do it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, some people kind of fall into this whole, I don't know. I guess I've never really had an addictive personality. And every time I've been treated and every time alcohol has come up, it's always been my medication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never been an addiction. And I've never like really been, I'm jonesing. I gotta have a drink, man. I gotta wake up this morning and have a highball. Right. Like it's not what I do. I don't wake up and go, man, I need a bottle of bourbon in my coffee. I did that when I came back from Fallujah in 2004. Like I went to work with a flask of Patron in my cargo pocket and a bottle behind my Jeep seat.
Yeah.
And hey, brother, you're not alone. Like you said,
Yeah, I know a guy that wrote a song.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
you know, some people need help getting off of it, and some people just recognize I think for me, when I realized that, hey, dude, you could have killed anybody.
Yeah.
And you could have died yourself.
Right.
And these would have been just, you know, devastated. Your girlfriend would have been devastated. Your mother would have been devastated. Like, hey, man.
I tell people the best thing that can happen to you if you drive drunk is that you get a DUI. That means you didn't kill anybody because it wasn't a manslaughter charge, but you get pulled over and you got to pay some money. That is actually the best thing that can happen to you.
Your story.
Guilty right here. You know, I think people have done it. I've done it, especially in the younger days. And thank God nothing bad happened, man. So thank you for telling that story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. And that's
you got nothing to hide, man.
Hey, I'm the same way, brother. And that song, so tell us about so if people download it, all the money doesn't go to you. It goes to a charity.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I've literally pledged everything that is ever made from that song from now until the end of time. Like at some point, I'll probably have to put that in a contract with something somewhere, somebody. In 2018, I pledged every dime of it to go to organizations that actively and effectively fight suicide.
Amazing, man. Thank you.
And so far, I mean, so distribution is not cheap. Like it costs money to distribute like music. And so like you have like everybody's got their hands in a pocket.
I know. That's the way I feel. I was going to ask you about that in a minute, about how you get paid for the downloads. Because I go to Apple now and get all my music. Like, how do you get paid?
Very gingerly. So I get paid, but it's not like it used to be. Like, so it used to be back in the day, you know, let's say Stevie Ray Vaughan era. Right. Back in the day, you'd get signed, you'd get upfront like couple $1 million signing bonus, blah, 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 blah. And then you tour and then you'd play music until your fingers bled. You'd come home, take a week off, and then go out and do it again. Right. And you do that until that contract was up. And then you know, if you didn't spend your wad on the road with cocaine and hookers and all that.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. I've seen it.
But then it kind of, you know, the whole Napster thing happened. And then it's like, oh, you know what? Well, we're going to do Apple, and Apple's going to take care of all this stuff, and we're going to square things away, and you'll buy albums on these platforms. Distribution, you get digital albums.
Right.
Or singles. You can buy singles digitally. You know, CD sales and all that stuff. And then CDs went away. And then it was just digital.
Hey, I still buy CDs.
What? You're the one. Serena, they sell those for somebody.
I do.
I just want to know where you play them.
Okay, but listen, my car is a 2013 and it still has a CD player.
Oh, well, okay. When that thing falls apart, then you're going to have to go to digital.
Yeah.
No.
It's going to happen. And you were talking about us being old.
No shit.
I know. That's right. I was talking shit. But you know what? I buy CDs. Brandon hates that I do, but
Let's call you eclectic. We'll call you eclectic.
Yeah, that sounds way better. Eclectic.
I'm really good with words. That's why I'm a songwriter.
Hey, that's not why you're a corpsman, because they're not really good with words.
This is very true. So you can still download the song, but it's not as easy and or prevalent because there's so many streaming platforms. So the more it's streamed, you know, let's say you take 25,000 streams. It's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $125.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and back in the day, you know, you sold a $20 album, you know, you might've made $5 of that because everybody else got, you know,
in it. Right.
And most of the money made in the music industry today is made on touring. Here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I'll say about Not Alone. If you put Not Alone on a playlist and you share your playlist with your friends, or you share the song with your friends and you get them to put it on a playlist, the more it's spread, say everything's done in an algorithm nowadays.
Yes, it is.
Everything.
Yeah.
Algorithm is what? It's a baseline, right?
Yeah.
So it's a baseline. So it's like the water is completely flat. And the only way to get recognized is to splash the water.
Yep. Get a
The
bump.
bigger the splash, The bigger the recognition, the more plays, the more identifications, the more spreading, the bigger it gets. The wave gets bigger, it becomes a tsunami.
Mhm.
But that's the bigger deal. So if we could get people to just share the snot out of Not Alone.
Well, the corpsman is the biggest rate in the Navy. You'd think they'd be sharing the
Yeah.
hell out of it.
Yeah, well, we're also kind of quirky and we're weird. And some of us just don't sit on social media anymore because
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
we're a little twisted, man. We're like, some of us are kind of hanging out in a freaking mud hut somewhere in the middle of South Carolina.
Well, you have a couple of songs though. Like I listen to I Need to Breathe and Frustrated, and so I want to play one more of those. Of those two, which one would you like us to play for our audience?
I think I would like for you to play I Need to Breathe because it was the first song I wrote with a friend of mine when I got back from Fallujah in 2004. I came home and I was completely, I couldn't catch my breath. Everything had slowed down and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't catch my breath because like I'm sitting at a coffee shop. So I just came out of a firefight 3 months before.
Right.
And or dealt with 2 explosions like a month and a half before.
Right.
So now I'm sitting in a parking lot outside of this coffee shop, hanging out, having a cup of coffee with my buddy's fiance, and who just deployed himself. And she's trying to get her intel, and I'm going, I don't know what to do with this crap, man.
Yeah. No, that's tough, man. I can't even fathom. I've never experienced anything like that personally, but I can't even wrap my brain around that.
Well, listen, I'll say this, and again, because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I've never experienced listen, trauma is trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that trauma is.
Yeah.
It's all relative to the individual. So we're taught, and I may or may not have this conversation with a sailor I just trained in field med probably no more than 8 years ago. He had finally slowed down. Like he went to nursing school and he got his degree and he started working and then everything started to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it hits, man.
Yeah.
He was in Marja. So I did part of probably the first two of the roughest battles in Iraq, Al-Nasiriyah and Fallujah. And then he was in Marja probably 4 years later. And he calls me and he goes, do you have a few minutes? And I'm like, sure. He goes, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, welcome to post-traumatic stress.
People put this label on it and they shouldn't, right?
No,
they shouldn't. So let's listen to the song and then we'll talk.
Sure.
I've listened to the song and I loved it. And Serena actually hasn't, right, Serena?
No, I have not.
So she's going to listen to it after the show. And
You should listen to it, Serena. It's a horrible song.
Horrible. What do you mean horrible?
Well, it's gonna give me goosebumps. I know. Like listening to your story gave me goosebumps. I'm sure the song will give me goosebumps. Like especially like the first one did. So,
Listen, you don't have to lie to make friends. We're already friends.
Well, I encourage people to go listen. And listen, he didn't pay to come on the show. Like I said, we always tell people we don't have sponsors. This is us helping veterans. And what a great song. What a great story. I mean, and that feeling of just you're almost immobile, right? Like, and veterans get that way. And not just veterans, everybody gets that way for something, right? But
right. Anybody who's experienced trauma, like any kind of trauma, a burning house, an abduction, a rape. Things are very serious and they're all very real. Now, if you're going to sit here and talk to me about your paper cut, I'm just going to laugh at you and tell you.
Oh my God. I hate the veterans who got divorced and say it caused them trauma. I'm like, come on, man, suck it up.
Dude. Listen, this is going to sound really horrible, but I was working at the Wounded Warrior Battalion East, and I may or may not have had this kid come in. He was a Marine, and he came in from MCT, which is the basic school for non-grunt Marines. And it's basically the school right after boot camp, which is 14 weeks. And he comes in, and he's like, I'm checking in HM1. I'm like, what? Like, what? And I've got like guys missing legs and like trying to go for like vacuum, like debridement surgeries and things like burn victims and all this other stuff that just came back from, Walter Reed and SAMC and all this other crap. And he was probably 17, 18 years old. He's 18, almost 19 years old. And he walks in, he goes, I'm checking in. I'm like, what?
What for?
And he hands me his paperwork, and I shit you not, he was checking in for a TBI and PTSD from MCT.
So how do you get a TBI at a school like that?
Don't ask me, because I just threw his paperwork up in the air, and I was like, okay, go have a seat outside.
Yeah. See, people like that piss me
all
off.
the staff sergeants and myself in the room was like, what the ever-loving TF? Like I don't want to use bad words on here because I may or may not be a sailor that lived most of my career with the Marines. So
I like almost get grounded every day because we live with my parents right now because my mom is so appalled by my mouth. I'm like,
Serena's
I'm married to a sailor.
Right.
I don't even know what to say to you right now. You're literally an ombudsman. Nobody liked you.
Everybody loved me. What?
Hey, Everybody loves you, but nobody likes you because they have to go through you in order to get anything done.
Actually, no, I did have some people that hated my guts, but I think for the majority, people liked me.
She was awesome.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure all the sailors loved you because they kept their wives off of them.
You know who hated the troublemakers are the ones who hated me.
Yes,
of course
they did.
Yeah.
Yes,
of course. So, but like we were all sitting in the room shocked, like what the actual TF?
Well, there's real trauma and then there's make-believe trauma, I call it. And, you've been through the real stuff and you have, PTSD that, people talk about it and what's real and what's not real. And only the truth is only But I do say if a divorce causes you that or someone is mean to you and that causes it, well, you're just too weak. That's what I say. So if you're listening and you're that weak, don't listen.
Yeah. If you have post-traumatic stress, you should probably not talk to me because I'm just going to make you feel worse.
Yeah, me too. That's what I say.
I'm sorry.
Oh, poor baby. And I don't want to keep you all night, Shannon. I'm going to tell one story and I'm going to let you go. And a lot of listeners don't know this because we don't share a lot. Me and Serena haven't really shared our story much because we're just kind of letting it play out. Usually they do a podcast and they'll do, 2 or 3 shows just about the us, but I didn't want to do that. But it's Command Master Chief of Navy Medicine. All you corpsmen out there.
But
oh my God.
I like you, anyway, man. Nobody.
Yeah. But East. So I had everything, kind of east of Texas, all of Europe and the Middle East. And, the suicides and, the wrecks and the deaths and it became normal.
Alcohol and
normal is normal. Sad. Yeah.
Normal is sad. And listen, if you're listening and you're not a military member, don't think it's just military. This is life. This is life. Everybody deals with it. But when you have 25,000 people working for you, you're going to deal with it more often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I got out.
For sure.
And it wasn't until I got out and slowed down that I actually realized what I dealt with. Because when you're in, Shannon, you got to admit, it's all about the mission. If someone kills themselves, the next day you're back at work.
There's no time. There's no time. And there's like, even in a combat zone, like that, like in an admin situation, you're like, especially for you, like there's no, listen, like I've been in charge of people, but being in charge of 25,000 people. And I couldn't imagine like some Master Chief calling my office and going, hey, here's another one. Oh, and by the way, did you hear about Bob? Like he's gone too. Like that happens. And trust me, my hat's off to you. My hat's off to you.
No, it's not about, I mean, I would rather be that guy than the guy on the scene. I mean, screw that.
I know that, but I think as a corpsman, I think you deserve a little recognition for that.
Yeah, corpsmen, corpsmen get a bad rap in the Navy sometimes because, I just go see Doc, the old pecker checker. But it depending on where you are, like there's some corpsmen who just, give some shots, but depending on where you're at, it's a damn tough job, my friend. So thank you for everything you've done for this country. And thank you for the music, and thank you for the message, and thank you for coming on the show. And I appreciate it.
Me too.
Thank you guys for what you did. Thank you, Master Chief, for your service. Thank you. Listen, thank you both. Like you guys are both amazing people. I'm very, very grateful to be here, and I'd be happy to come back anytime. Well,
maybe, hey, you got a new song out. Well, I listened, actually, you know what? I know what I was thinking. I listened to one that was from 2018. It was like Dear Mom. It was like a gold
Dear
song.
Mom. Yeah. Dear Mom. Yeah. Dear Mom is a great song too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a tearjerker. It's about the letter in your pocket to your mom in case she didn't come home.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not listening to your shit anymore. You're going to make me cry.
No kidding. Golly.
This one time, Shannon sat down with an acoustic guitar and made everybody cry.
Yeah. You know what? You're not coming to my family reunion, Shannon. All right, Serena. So that was the longest interview we've had, and I really loved it.
Yeah, it was nice talking to a veteran like that who's been through some shit. And I think it's nice that he's been through some shit, but nice to kind of get some real world talking there. Because I don't think we've never had a combat veteran on ever before. Well, I don't think.
Or we haven't asked the question.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there's so many people out there that deal with this stuff that never, ever, ever talk about it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah. And a lot of the listeners have probably done things that they will never tell anybody. And not even the VA, even though that, they could get actually money, right, for PTSD, and they kind of compensate you some, not Serena, not nearly enough. But they still refuse to talk about it. They still refuse to get help, and they sit and struggle by themselves. So I think, his music is great and the message is great. And I hope everyone goes and downloads the song. And like I said, all the money goes to help veterans. So he's not getting a dime. This guy's not getting a dime, Serena. Yeah.
Which it blows my mind, but it's good that he's doing I shouldn't say the right thing, but he's doing a nice thing. You know what I mean?
Well, it is nice, and it's the right thing. And I wish more people, Serena, in today's world did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, today's show was a little different. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. All right, Skylar. So if someone wanted to look this guy up and find all of his social media links in one place, where would they look?
linktr.ee/Shannon Book Music.
So there you go. All the social media in one spot.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Diapers and Deployments, brought to you by Skill Mill.
Go to skillmill.com to check out our blog and create an account. You can also find us on social media. Let us help you find your next career.
Don't forget, that's skill with 2 L's and mill with 1.
Until next time.